Tripura Rahasya. Chapter 21. You understand the truth, but how do you live it? At the end of Chapter 20, Parasurama had received the highest teaching, the Vidya Gita, the Song of Wisdom spoken directly by the Supreme Goddess. He had heard that the Divine Mother is his own self, that earnestness is the sole requisite, that devotion opens the door to grace, and that the perfected sage is identical with the goddess. Yet even after hearing this supreme revelation, a practical question remained in Parasurama's heart. He had understood the truth. Now he wanted to know how to live it. The Gandhamadan mountain. Parasurama sits before Dattatreya, his heart filled with the nectar of the Vidya Gita, but his mind still seeking clear guidance on how to embody what he has heard. He has tasted the highest truth. Now he longs to live it.
Master, I have heard the Vidya Gita. I have received the words of the goddess herself. I understand that the supreme consciousness is my own self. I understand that earnestness is the sole requisite. I understand that the perfected sage is one with the divine. But now I want to know how to accomplish this wisdom in practice. Please tell me exactly how wisdom can be accomplished. Let it be easy and at the same time efficient. Please also tell me the characteristics of the true sages, so that I may readily recognize them when I see them. What is their state with or without the body? How can they remain unattached though fully active in the world? Kindly explain all this to me, O Master.
This is the question of the sincere seeker who has heard the truth and now longs to live it. Parasurama is no longer satisfied with philosophy alone. He wants the practical path. He wants to recognize true wisdom in others. He wants to know how the sage moves through the world.
You have asked a very good question, Rama. You have heard the highest teaching. Now you want to know how to live it. Listen carefully. I will tell you the secret of accomplishment. Of all the requisites for wisdom, divine grace is the most important. He who has entirely surrendered himself to the goddess is sure to gain wisdom readily. This is the best of all methods. This method does not require other aids to reinforce its efficiency as other methods do. Pure intelligence, illumining all, has cast a veil of ignorance of her own over all. Her true nature is evident only after removing this veil by discrimination. This is hard for those whose minds are directed outward. But it is easy, sure and quick for devotees who are engrossed in the goddess of the self, to the exclusion of all else.
This is the first teaching of Chapter 21. Divine grace is the most important requisite, not effort alone, not practice alone, not knowledge alone. Grace, the opening of the heart, the total surrender to the self. When one surrenders entirely, the veil is lifted, not by force, but by love.
So devotion is the highest path, even higher than discrimination?
Yes. An intense devotee, though endowed with only a little discipline of other kinds, can readily understand the truth, though only theoretically at first, and expound it to others. Such exposition helps him to imbue those ideas, and so he absorbs the truth. This ultimately leads him to identify all individuals with Shiva, and he is no longer affected by pleasure or pain. All-round identification with Shiva makes him the best of Jñānis and a Jivan Mukta, emancipated here and now. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga, the way of devotion, is the best of all. It excels all else.
This is the second teaching of Chapter 21. Devotion is the supreme path. It excels all other methods because it opens the door to grace.
Master, how can I recognize a true Jnani? What are his characteristics?
The characteristics of a Jnani are hard to understand because they are inscrutable and inexpressible. A pandit cannot be adequately described except by his appearance, gait, and dress, because his inner feelings and depth of knowledge are known to himself alone. The flavor of a particular dish cannot be exactly conveyed by words to one who has not tasted it. Similarly, a true sage can be truly understood only by another sage. There are some traits which are obvious and others which are subtle. The obvious traits, speech, language, postures of meditation, signs of worship, dispassion, can be imitated by non-sages. The subtle ones cannot.
This is the third teaching of Chapter 21. The true sage is known only to another sage. External signs can be imitated. The inner state cannot be faked, but it also cannot be seen by those who have not tasted it. Only the one who knows can recognize the one who knows. A bird alone can follow the track of another bird.
Then how can I distinguish a true sage from one who merely appears to be a sage?
What are accomplishments to others, dispassion, meditation, prayer, remain natural to the sage whose mind is pure and unsophisticated. He whom honor and insult, loss or gain cannot affect, is a sage of the best class. The best among sages can, without hesitation, give complete answers on matters relating to realization and the sublimest truths. He seems to be spontaneously animated when discussing matters pertaining to jhana, and is never tired of their exposition. His nature is to remain without effort. Contentment and purity abide in him. Even the most critical situations do not disturb his peace of mind.
This is the fourth teaching of Chapter 21, the marks of the true sage. Unaffected by honor and insult, loss and gain, speaks from direct knowledge, spontaneously animated when speaking of the truth, content, pure, undisturbed even in crisis.
These are wonderful qualities. But can they be used to test others?
These qualities must be tried for oneself and verified. They are of no value as tests applied to others, for they may be genuine or spurious. An aspirant must first apply the tests to himself and always prove his own worth. He can then judge others. How can the repeated testing of oneself fail to improve one? Let one not spend one's time judging others, but let one judge oneself. Thus one becomes perfect.
This is the fifth teaching of Chapter 21. Do not spend your time judging others. Judge yourself. The qualities of the sage are standards to cultivate in your own heart, not tests to apply to others. When you have purified yourself, you will naturally recognize purity in others.
You have spoken before of the 3 classes of Jñānis. Tell me more about how they live. How do they differ in their daily life?
The lowest order, jhanas who still have body sense. The jhanas of the lowest order behave like ignorant men in their care for their bodies. They have not attained sahaja samadhi, samadhi unbroken even while engaged in work. They are in the state of perfection only when they are calm or composed. They have as much body sense and enjoy pleasure and pain with as much zest as any animal when they are not engaged in the investigation of the self. Though they are not always inquiring into the self, yet there are periods of the perfect state owing to their previous practice and experience. All the same, They are emancipated because the animal sense is only an aberration during interludes of imperfection and does not always leave any mark on them.
This is the sixth teaching of Chapter 21. The lowest Jnani still has body sense at times. He enjoys pleasure and pain like an ordinary person when not in contemplation, but the intervals of realization have an abiding effect, like dye applied to the border of a cloth that slowly spreads and colors the whole. He is free, even though the body sense sometimes arises.
The middle order, jhanis never deluded by the body. The middle class of jhanis are never deluded by their bodies. The false identification of I with the body never arises with them. Their minds are mostly dead because of their long practice and continued austerities. They are not engaged in work because they are entirely self-possessed. Just as a man moves or speaks in sleep without being aware of his actions, so also this class of yogi does enough work for his minimum requirements without being aware of it. Having transcended the world, he behaves like a drunken man. But he is aware of his actions. His body continues on account of his vasanas and destiny.
This is the seventh teaching of Chapter 21. The middle Jnani is never deluded by the body. The false identification of I with the body never arises. His mind is mostly dead. He works like a man in sleep. Actions happen, but he is not identified with them. He is free.
The highest order, jhanis completely detached. Jhanis of the highest class do not identify the self with the body, but remain completely detached from their bodies. Their work is like that of a charioteer driving a chariot who never identifies himself with the chariot. Similarly, the Jnani is not the body nor the actor. He is pure intelligence. Though entirely detached from action within, to the spectator he seems to be active. He performs his part like an actor in a drama and plays with the world as a parent does with a child.
This is the eighth teaching of Chapter 21. The highest Jnani is completely detached. He acts like a charioteer, driving the chariot, but not identifying with it. He plays his part like an actor in a drama, knowing it is a drama. He is free, even in the midst of activity.
You have described the middle and highest orders. What is the difference between them?
Of the two higher orders of jhanis, the middle class remains steadfast through his sustained practice and control of mind. The highest class remains steadfast on account of the force of his discrimination and investigation. The difference lies in the merits of their intellect. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this difference.
This is the ninth teaching of Chapter 21. The middle. Jnani remains steadfast through practice. The highest Jnani remains steadfast through discrimination. One requires effort to maintain the state, the other abides naturally. The difference is in the depth of understanding.
There was formerly a king named Ratnangada, ruling in the city of Amarta on the banks of the Vipasa river. He had two sons, Rukmangada and Hemangada. Both were wise and good and dearly loved by their father. Rukmangada was well versed in the Shastras, the scriptures. Hemangada was a Jñāni of the highest order. On one occasion, both of them went out on a hunting expedition into a dense forest, followed by their retinue. They accounted for many deer, tigers, hares, and bison. Being thoroughly exhausted, they rested beside a spring. Rukmangada was informed by some persons that there was a Brahmaraksasa, a learned but degenerate Brahmin who had become a ghoul, close by. This ghoul was accustomed to challenge pandits for discussion, vanquish them, and then eat them. Since Rukmangada loved learned disputations, he went with his brother to the ghoul and engaged him in argument. He was defeated in the debate, and the ghoul caught hold of him to devour him.
O Brahmaraksasa, do not eat him yet. I am his younger brother. Defeat me also in argument, so that you may eat us both together.
I have long been without food. Let me first finish this long-wished-for prey, and then I shall defeat you in debate and complete my meal with you. However, I shall tell you now, a vow which I have taken. There are many questions deeply afflicting my mind. If you can answer them satisfactorily, I shall release your brother.
Mention the questions. I shall answer them.
What is more extensive than space and more subtle than the subtlest? What is its nature? Where does it abide? Tell me, Prince.
Listen, spirit. Abstract intelligence is wider than space and subtler than the subtlest. Its nature is to glow, and it abides as the self.
How can it be wider than space, being single, or how is it subtler than the subtlest? What is that glow, and what is that self? Tell me, Prince.
Listen, spirit. Being the material cause of all, intelligence is extensive though single. Being impalpable, it is subtle. Glowing obviously implies consciousness, and that is the self.
Where and how is chit, abstract intelligence, to be realized, and what is the effect?
The intellectual sheath must be probed for its realization. One-pointed search for it reveals its existence. Rebirth is overcome by such realization.
What is that sheath, and what is concentration of mind? Again, what is birth?
The intellectual sheath is the veil drawn over pure intelligence. It is inert by itself. One-pointedness is abiding as the self. Birth is the false identification of the self with the body.
Why is that abstract intelligence, which is ever shining, not realized? What is the means by which it can be realized? Why did birth take place at all?
Ignorance is the cause of non-realization. Self realizes the self. There is no external aid possible. Birth originated through the sense of doership.
What is that ignorance of which you speak? What is again the self? Whose is the sense of doership?
Ignorance is the sense of separateness from consciousness and false identification with the non-self. As for the self, the question must be referred to the self in you. The ego or the I thought is the root of action.
By what means is ignorance to be destroyed? How is the means acquired? What leads to such means?
Investigation cuts at the root of ignorance. Dispassion develops investigation. Disgust of the pleasures of life generates dispassion toward them.
What is investigation, dispassion, or disgust in pleasures?
Investigation is analysis conducted within oneself, discriminating the non-self from the self, stimulated by a stern, strong, and sincere desire to realize the self. Dispassion is non-attachment to surroundings. This results if the misery consequent on attachment is kept in mind.
What is the root cause of the whole series of these requirements?
Divine grace is the root cause of all that is good. Devotion to God alone can bring down His grace. This devotion is produced and developed by association with the wise. That is the prime cause of all.
Who is that God? What is devotion to Him? Who are the wise?
God is the master of the cosmos. Devotion is unwavering love for Him. The wise are those who abide in supreme peace and melt with love for all.
Who is always in the grip of fear? Who of misery? Who of poverty?
Fear holds a man possessed of enormous wealth. Misery holds a man with a large family. Poverty holds a man with insatiable desires.
Who is fearless? Who is free from misery? Who is never needy?
The man with no attachments is free from fear. The one with a controlled mind is free from misery. The self-realized man is never needy.
Who is he that passes men's understanding and is visible though without a body? What is the action of the inactive?
The man emancipated here and now passes men's understanding. He is seen though he does not identify himself with the body. His actions are those of the inactive.
What is real? What is unreal? What is inappropriate? Answer these questions and redeem your brother.
The subject, the self, is real. The object, the non-self, is unreal. Worldly transactions are inappropriate. I have now answered your questions. Please release my brother at once.
When the prince had finished, the ghoul released Rukmangada with pleasure, and himself appeared metamorphosed as a Brahmin. Seeing the figure of the Brahmin full of courage and penance, the two princes asked him who he was.
When the prince had finished, the ghoul released Rukmangada with pleasure and himself appeared metamorphosed as a Brahmin. Seeing the figure of the Brahmin full of courage and penance, the two princes asked him who he was.
I was formerly a Brahmin of Magadha. My name is Vasuman. I was famous for my learning and known as an invincible debater. I was proud of myself and sought the assembly of those learned pandits who collected in my country under royal patronage. There was among them a great saint, perfect in wisdom and entirely self-possessed. He was known as Ashtavakra. I went there for love of debate. Though I was a mere logician, I argued against his statement on self-realization by sheer force of logic. He backed his arguments by profuse quotations from the Holy Scriptures. Since I was out to win laurels, I continued to refute him. Finding me incorrigible, he kept silent. However, one of his disciples, a descendant of Kashyapa lineage, was enraged at my audacity and cursed me before the king, saying, "You chip of a Brahmin, how dare you refute my master without first understanding his statements? May you at once become a ghoul and remain so for a long time." I shook with fear at the imprecation and took refuge at the feet the sage Ashtavakra. Being always self-possessed, he took pity on me, though I had figured as his opponent just before. He modified his disciple's curse by pronouncing an end to it as follows: "May you resume your old shape as soon as a wise man furnishes appropriate answers to all the questions which were raised here by you, answered by me, but refuted by your polemics." O Prince, you have now released me from that curse. I therefore consider you as the best among men, knowing all that pertains to life here and beyond.
This is the 10th teaching of Chapter 21. Theoretical knowledge is not enough. Only direct realization liberates. The highest Jñāni speaks from his own being, not from books. The story of the ghoul shows us the difference between the learned and the realized.
Master, you have told me the story. You have taught me the characteristics of the Jnani. Now tell me, how do I accomplish this wisdom? What is the essence of the path?
The essence is simple. Surrender to the goddess. Devote yourself to the self. Let go of your attachment to the body, the mind, the world. Turn inward. Rest in awareness. When doubts arise, investigate. When thoughts arise, see them as appearances. When desires arise, see through them. When the mind is still, the self shines. Do not seek to become a Jñāni. Seek to know what you already are. The self is not something you become. It is what you are when you stop pretending to be something else.
This is the final teaching of Chapter 21. The essence of the path is simple. Surrender, devote, turn inward, rest in awareness, investigate doubts, see through desires. When the mind is still, the self shines. Do not seek to become. Seek to know what you already are. The teaching of Chapter 21 is complete. Summary of what Parasurama learned. 1. Divine grace is the most important requisite. Surrender to the goddess is the best method. 2. Devotion, Bhakti Yoga, is the supreme path. 3. The true sage is known only to another sage. 4. The marks of the true sage, unaffected by honor and insult, loss and gain, speaks from direct knowledge, content, pure, undisturbed. 5. Do not judge others, judge yourself. 6. The three orders of Jñānis and how they live in the world. 7. The story of the ghoul teaches that theoretical knowledge is not enough. Only direct realization liberates. 8. The essence of the path, surrender, devotion, turn inward, rest in awareness. Take a quiet moment now and reflect. You have heard the truth. You have received the highest teachings. Now the real question is, how will you live it? Do not be satisfied with understanding. Let understanding become living. Surrender to the goddess. Turn inward. Rest in awareness. When doubts arise, investigate. When desires arise, see through them. When the mind is still, the self shines. The self is not something you become. It is what you are when you stop pretending to be something else. If this teaching stirred something deep within you, pause the video right now. Close your eyes for 1 minute and simply ask, who am I? Beyond all thoughts, beyond the body, beyond the mind. Don't search for an answer. Just rest in the pure awareness that is aware of everything. Now, comment below with one word or phrase that arose for you. For example, I, awareness, self-luminous, or always here. Share this chapter with one sincere seeker you know, someone who has been on the path for years but still feels stuck. Your share might be the turning point they need. If this series is helping you turn inward, please like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss Chapter 22, the final chapter of the Tripura Rahasya. The journey from knowing about the self to directly being the self continues. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May the mind turn inward. May thoughts subside. May you recognize what you have always been.